I thought the music was gonna fade out. I was trying to be fancy like a DJ. But welcome back to Hacking with the Homies,
Yeah,
episode 5. Episode 5.
you
We
still
we
got
you
time to
know,
be a DJ. You still got time to make it happen. I know deep down you always wanted to, do a little chicka chicka chicka. I know you want to be a DJ, low
I
key.
actually have like unused DJ equipment that I was supposed to learn like pre-pandemic. So we're not gonna talk about that, but
Okay, all right. Well, look at you, pop your collar.
we are back for episode 5. I am Jessica.
And I'm Mac Hendricks.
Yes, and we have been on this series for the last few months of just trying to introduce some topics that we feel like are less covered and less explored when it comes to black software engineers, just kind of understanding what types of revenue streams you have access to, what types of opportunities do you have access to that you may not hear about every day. So I know it was actually a few months ago this conversation came up between me and you, Mac, where we're like, you mentioned that you distribute software on a Amazon marketplace. And I was like, huh, my brain like has just never went there before or even, heard anybody else talking about that. So we have our episode today. Wait, what did I call it? From side project to side hustle. And so I really wanted to more so pick your brain, especially because you have experience with this. But it also kind of picks up where we left off in our last episode, where we talked about, if you are a technical person, you might want to get into startups without necessarily building an entire team and building a whole company from the ground up. So this is definitely one of those avenues. So I was hoping today we could kind of give a little bit of an overview of what are the different side hustles that people are probably already familiar with, and then we could go deeper into what does it mean to start to build and sell your own software, and some of the advice that you might have for us when it comes to kind of getting into that trade. So that's what we're talking about today.
Yeah, I'm excited to talk through this, man. I think open, we've for a very long time we've always talked about open source software as being a way to kind of jump into being a software developer. Like they always talk about, like, go contribute to a project. And I think obviously there's hurdles there because you're always like, what do I do in a project that I'm brand new to? You always talk about, well, you always can contribute to the documentation. People always need
Yeah.
documentation, but fast forward a little bit. Now that you've contributed to an open source project, now you're building, you may be working for a company, or maybe you're starting to build your own piece of software because maybe you're um, somewhat was intrigued by the fact that you're using this particular library in your project, and you see a need for some other project that's similar or another gap in something, so you start building your own open source project. And as you start doing it, you're like, man, this takes a lot of time, and people use my library all the time. Got a little success, and I want to figure out how can I start getting compensated for this. And I think this is where this conversation comes in. How do you monetize this? And there's number of ways of monetization, right? You can always, on GitHub now they have the whole sponsor, right? So you can kind of ask for money. It's kind of begging for donations, right? It's kind of like what happens at Christmas
That's
time.
a
Right?
strong word to use, but it's okay, yes,
but
but
it is,
yeah,
but
that's a
it
nice
is.
new feature, but that didn't exist even, like, what, a year ago? That wasn't really a
Yeah,
thing.
correct. I mean, you got to think about it. Every time, like, I look at it now, even for projects the project I run now, people ask for stuff all the time, and they don't necessarily understand the financial, not financial, just the time, which equates to financial, how much it takes to actually, add this feature, test it, and then it's the long-term cost. You have to support it. Anyway, that is what we're hoping to talk about today. Is like, well, how do you monetize this other than asking for donations? using some of these marketplaces out there, the AWS marketplace, Google has a marketplace. Actually, almost every cloud has a marketplace where they're trying to make it easier for people to start using an open source project, because for these cloud providers, they're all about consumption. So they can make it easier for you to use an open source project by just clicking a button. Now they made it easier for them to be able to start charging you for consumption of a server, or a a serverless component of it. So to start the billing engine for them is what they want. But real quickly, and then I'll shut up, and then I'll let you
No,
respond here a
that's
little bit. Is that all marketplaces aren't the same. So, like for instance, I like DigitalOcean, which is a very economical, low cost cloud provider that's very stable. But as of the last time I looked at it, they didn't actually have a way to compensate the authors of a particular project. So basically, they'll let you build a image of your software, put it into their marketplace category, but they don't have a mechanism to compensate the actual developer. But AWS, for example, and I believe that's the one I mainly use, and I think Azure also has that mechanism. So they will basically pay you out a percentage of the actual sales from the software. So anyway, I think it's a fantastic way to start making money from your project.
I mean, I really like the idea of it too because we usually hear like, for me, I know freelancing is, like, one of the main things that people go for when it comes to making money on the side as a developer. So depending on what kind of, requirements you have with your employment contract, you might also then turn around and freelance, right, and have clients, and, that's a lot of work, oh my god, because that's the lifestyle I lived for and still kinda live now, but now it's like, I do have clients, but I don't have a full-time employer that I'm committed to for 40 hours a week on top of that. So that, that can be a lot because like you said, it's a little bit different than being able to have your own side project and distribute that because when you freelance, you have to work with your client, you have to make time for them. Then there's always scope creep and all this other fun stuff to deal with. But then also those are one-off um usually those are one-off projects unless you can get some type of like monthly recurring revenue going with the clients where you have maybe a retainer or some value that you're able to provide that makes them literally pay you every month. You pretty much, it's like a one and done. Once you finish that project, it's like you can't really depend on that in the future for income. And then the other one that I'm mostly familiar with is teaching, but that's definitely not for everybody. But then again, it's still, both of those are really still in the realm of trading time for money, which I've been trying to get out of the trading time for money game, like as I'm getting older as well. So, um, it's just interesting that not a lot of people really talk more about this. Even like you said, people will say, "Oh, go build an open source project," but it's mostly for the experience and the like kind of the I don't want to say clout, but the social proof, the technical expertise that you gain, and less for being like, hey, this is a way that you could actually, build another stream of income for yourself. So we I really wanted us or for you to be able to get into like telling us about how you can sell your own software. So there's a few points we have this kind of walk us through this process, but if somebody wants to go and sell their own software, where can they start? Like, what's the first thing that I need to do? If I got an open source project and I'm thinking about maybe I can make this into something I can make money off of.
Yeah, there's a couple of things. I think that if you already have an open source project and you have like a community that is that's interested in the project, I think that's the first start. And I try and build things that are not necessarily, well, there's two ways you can look at it, right? So the when you're building a project, you're going to obviously, in a lot of cases, attract developers. I don't think necessarily core developers are is the best customer for that, because core developers, they'll just get clone your project and compile it if it needs to be compiled, or just run it on Python as an interpreter if it needs to, or whatever it needs to do to get it going. So usually, what I'm trying to do is really focus on people that need to use this library or project that's not as technical as a core developer. And those are the people that want to use it, but they don't want to deal with. I don't know. Maybe you've been through this too. It's been situations where I'd be like, "Man, I like this. I like this project that they're working on." But then I go to the GitHub, look at the README, and it's like, "Oh my goodness, it's going to take me forever to get this thing running." You know what I mean? And I
Yeah.
don't I don't have time to do it. So in my case, it's more of time. In some cases, it may just be a developer that's just doesn't want to deal with it. Just be too complicated for them to get up and running. That is the sweet spot for wanting to take your project and make it available on one of these marketplaces. So basically, you're just simplifying it for them. So you're just give them a one-click, install of it, and it's up and going. So to answer your question, one, you just got to figure out what marketplace that you want to be on. I choose AWS because most people love AWS. And they're building. It's probably the one that has the obviously the. I haven't looked at the numbers lately, but it probably has the most number of customers that's leveraging cloud, right? So, if that's the case, I the first thing you need to do is figure out how does the marketplace want you to package up your software,
Mhm.
and for AWS, what they want you to do is they have a if you go to AWS dot, I think it's marketplace, I think it's marketplace.aws.com, or you just Google AWS Marketplace actually. They will tell you how they want software to be um, packaged up in their marketplace. So what I typically will do is go read those instructions and figure out how they want the software to be installed. So for AWS explicitly, they have you can create images fairly simple. So what I usually do is I go on AWS, pick a machine, install the software from there, and then I build an image of it. And then I'm simplifying this a little bit. Build an image of it, and then from there you can actually go to the marketplace component of AWS and then submit it to them as a piece of software that you want added to their marketplace. And they ask you a bunch of questions. Like the first set of questions was around like what is the software? What does it do? And then second part of that is like how much do you want to charge? For those who don't know, AWS charges by the hour. So you there's a hourly cost for you using one of their instances, one of their server instances, and then there's a charge for any software that's running on that particular instance that comes to the marketplace. So to be clear, they like you ain't messing with our money, so they'll say, hey,
Right.
uh, whatever size image, because inside AWS you can pick different size machines you want to run on, and they all have a different cost. Obviously, the bigger the server that you're using, the more it costs per hour. So what they allow you to do is put pricing of how much you want to charge per hour for your software.
Mhm.
So in that case, and you can actually set it up by how big the image is running, which I actually like. So if somebody's running like a nano image, a very small instance of it, you can say, okay, I want this to be X 10 cents an hour. I'm just making something up. And then as they go up the different larger sizes of hardware they're running, you also can increase how much you want to charge per month. Because at the end of the day, if they're running on larger hardware, that means that they're serving a larger number of customers or a number of users that are using your software. So you want to bump up that price a little bit. And then from there, you basically submit your image. That you submit the location of your image to Amazon Marketplace. And what they do, they actually will run a whole bunch of tests on it just to make sure there's no any software on there that either have old versions of a particular dependency or has some type of what's the word I want to use here? Some type of virus prone component to it. And there's just looking for all kind of different things, right? And then if it comes back clean, your application will be available on the marketplace. So let me just show my screen
I was
real
gonna say we're
quick.
getting a screen share, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Let's
Um,
just do that.
and I was
Hmm.
gonna say, dang, I had a question too. Um,
Hmm.
you got this. Okay, perfect.
Yep.
Wait,
So this is the I think you're seeing my screen, right? Yep. Okay,
yes.
you are. So this is the AWS marketplace, and it's just aws.amazon.com marketplace. Um, obviously this is different than the marketplace when you just go to amazon.com, right? So think of it as the same way, right? When you go to amazon.com, you can look for whatever product you're looking to buy, and it comes up. Here you can do the same thing. So if you're looking for software for, let's just say, MySQL, for example, it's probably not the best example because MySQL is pretty easy to install, but actually WordPress is even better. Look at that, WordPress is MySQL. So basically, a lot of times people look at so many results here, 1,291 results. So anyway, a lot of times what people will do, they'll not only package up open source software they build, but they'll also take open source software, like multiple pieces of open source software, and package it together and make it as a system and also put it on top on the AWS marketplace. So in this case, like look at the first one that comes up. This is WordPress on Windows, using PHP MyAdmin, which is an admin GUI for PHP and MySQL. So it allows you to be able to manage it pretty easy using that PHP MyAdmin UI. You can see also here people's packaged up MySQL 8. So you get the point. Like people can package things up. Let me just go to my project here. So DSIP router, we have a couple different instances, a couple different versions of this for different OSs. That's the other thing. You can package it up so it can run on different OSs because certain people like and love certain OSs. So we package it up on Debian and we package it up on Amazon Linux as well. But I'm just going to drill into this really quickly. And this is where you can start seeing. It gives you a little overview of the project. This is all stuff you fill in. Pricing is the one I like the most here. So pricing is what we've set up here. So you can see how much we are charging for the software per hour. In our case, we just kept the price the same. We'll probably be changing this at some point, but you also can see it with the cost of running it on the EC2 is the instances that Amazon have. So you can see that obviously the bigger the instance it goes up. So I could do the same on our price, and you can see what it does for you is calculates what the total cost is for the software and the EC2 instance running on the machine. So in this case, for Nano, it's 14 cents an hour for the software, and for the EC2 instance per hour, it's 0.006. So the total cost for running our software and the EC2 instance is 0.146 an hour. So anyway, that's at the crux, and you can set it up for annual cost and hourly cost as well. So let me just stop there and see if that makes sense. Just so you can.
Yeah, I want to encourage anybody if you are listening live or watching live and you have questions, just let us know. But yeah, so what I was thinking was this means that if you want to offer your software in this format, then you can go with maybe one provider, or you might have to choose to distribute across different cloud providers, right? Because it's built into the actual platform when someone's going to be spinning up an instance, or having their deployments hosted with a specific cloud.
Correct. Yeah. So this is just for AWS, right? So I could, if we, I'm gonna pop over, use the same window here, and let's say DigitalOcean, which is one I use as well. I haven't popped over in a minute. So let's just search for DigitalOcean Marketplace, um, just to kind of help us get to where we want to go. And here, so you can say, here goes a list of packages that I have here. Here goes the stat. Let's say WordPress, for example. Um, see details here. So you can notice here, there's no way to there's no monetary component for the developer here. So it is basically, yeah, you want to, if you want to create WordPress really quickly, you can create WordPress. Now this one is by DigitalOcean, so let's go pick another one that's by an actual end user. I'm just going to pick FreePBX because it's a piece of software I use a lot, and I know there's by a company. So this one's by Simon Telephonics. Again, there's no way for them to actually, there's no pricing here. So this means that this provider here, DigitalOcean, doesn't have a mechanism to compensate the developer. Really, if what a developer would do, and the reason why they would do it, a developer would do it on DigitalOcean is because maybe they have some support that they want to sell around this. But to your point
Mhm.
earlier, Jessica, I'm trying to get out of the business of selling, of trading time for money. You know what I mean? So I mean, sure. Can you add support? And do we offer support when somebody buys it per hour? We do, but we're not leading with that. In this
Right.
case, they're leading with that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, so that's a trade-off, but that I mean, that's still another, avenue that you can explore if that's something that you're interested in, right? Because, I think, like you said, AWS is pretty much what a lot of us, use in software, but then you have other platforms, Google Cloud Platform and Azure and all these other, places that people like to, use to run their systems, so just knowing that you want to actually choose where you're going to be hosting it and kind of maybe like okay, within my niche, within my realm, everybody is hosting on AWS, so that's good. But if hardly anybody within that space for some odd reason doesn't really use AWS and they use some other cloud provider, then you could be aware of that and then kind of make a choice based on that.
Absolutely. So I went over to Azure while you were talking, and this is the same company that we were just seeing with the free PBX one. Let's just go with their plans here they have. So in this one here, so they're actually, Azure does have a mechanism for being able to compensate the developers. So you can see they have some prices here. So basically every hour is 0.0225 an hour for the software. So they're just trying to make it easier for them. And then you can see what the monthly cost is here. So, like for in this case, based on the size of the machine, it ranges from $81 to it looks like to almost 232 $238 a call per month to run the software, which isn't bad if you're able to get a large number of folks, leveraging your platform, right? So I think I think it's a great idea in order to generate money while you sleep.
Yeah, it's really helpful to even know that that's a thing. And when you're talking about the like I don't know. I would say distributing. I keep wanting to say like deploy, but when you talk about distributing the actual software itself, it sounds similar to publishing a mobile app, right? You have to like if you have a mobile app for the App Store for Apple App Store, you have to actually submit your app or submit the package or however you have your software packaged up. You have to submit that, and then you go through an approval process. But then kind of like once it's up there, you have that out there and people have access to it. Obviously, that's a different end user, but it's still that's kind of what it reminds me of.
Now, I think that's a perfect analogy, actually. That's exactly what you're doing is basically submitting it to the marketplace. They're looking for vulnerabilities, looking to ensure that it adheres to the latest version of the OS and things of that nature. And based on that, it'll accept it into the marketplace, and then people can start downloading it, or in this case, I guess they'll just start using it in whatever marketplace that you're in.
So you're looking at Google Cloud Marketplace. So do they
Mhm.
have, from what you can tell, do they have a monetization option?
Yeah, 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 for sure. They're yep, they have it there. I hadn't looked in a while, but it looks like they have a pricing strategy as well. So, let me think here. So, the IP, yeah, so it's $36 a month. Let's see, total. It looks like they do. They don't have the pricing model laid out the way I would expect it to be, but usage fee. $36 a month, infrastructure fee. So it looks like they have a usage fee for the software. Yeah, they do. So it's like it's just laid out differently. They have a here goes the usage fee for the software, which is 36.50 a month. Which it sounds like they don't. I don't know if they calculate this. Oh, there it goes. It has per hour pricing. It's just a little different. Then they have the infrastructure fee. How much Google's going to charge you to run it on their infrastructure, and then they give you the total right here. So
Okay.
same thing. Yeah.
That's
So
really
it's good.
helpful. So basically the big cloud providers all have that option. Cause I know like some people might use DigitalOcean, for example. But when you're like most of us that work on like production software, we either use one of those three. We use Google Cloud or Amazon
Mhm.
or, Azure. So it's good to know that at least in those realms they have those options for us.
Yeah, yeah, I think it's definitely a great one strategy for monetizing the software, but the same principles apply when you're you know the same marketing principles apply if people are downloading your software from GitHub or if they're going to the marketplace. Like people need to know that the project exists. So you still
Mhm,
have to
mhm.
follow the same principles of posting about it, letting people doing talks about your project. And the only difference is that you can get people in a lot of cases using the product quicker because now you're just giving them a one-click install. So you should see your adoption go up faster, at least from um, people who are willing to pay you for the software, because now you're making it super simple for them to do it. Oh, and on top of that, um, I don't know about the rest of these. I only really focus on Amazon. Now that we're talking about it, I need to step my game up and start working, getting it so I deploy on all these other ones. But AWS has the concept of a trial, right? So you can
Yeah, I
actually,
saw that.
yeah, which is pretty dope. So people can try it and then they can convert over, um, you know, if they want. So uh, that's also a little thing. So it also takes a little bit of risk out for them.
So we said, if you're looking to deploy your own software, then let's see, I'm going to use something. Okay, so you could choose a marketplace. That would be the first step, right? And then
Mhm.
the next step will be packaging.
Yep. Did I lose your audio?
Did I leave you for a second?
You did. You did. I was like, what happened? She said bye bye. She
Terrible.
went bye bye.
Yeah, so the first step is choosing the marketplace. The second step is
Mhm.
packaging your software. And then the third step being to submit your software to the marketplace. And that would include choosing pricing info and software info. So,
Co correct, and here goes the deal. So so I'm logged into the AWS marketplace here, so a little bit behind the scenes here. Um, so
oh
they
wait, I
call
think
it.
we are still seeing the
Oh,
landing page
I
for Google Cloud. I don't know. You might
let
be
me
sharing the tab and not the
no, I
window.
I I think I went back. I'm on the wrong screen, so here it goes.
Okay,
You
okay.
should see it now. Alright.
Yeah.
So, this is a little bit behind the scenes here. So, I'm logged into the AWS Marketplace portal. I can create or manage offers is, what this is, called. And, actually, you know what? That is not where I wanna go, actually. So let me go back here and let me go back to there. And let's see here. Let me see what my asset. They've kind of changed this a little bit. Let me just request and server share. All right, there you go. So these are the products that I have underneath inside of AWS Marketplace. So this is what it looks like here. So if I look at the product information, I'm just trying to show you what it kind of looks like. You can
Yeah.
this logo is huge. Uh, and this is all the information you fill out about it. And then you can specify the versions that you have, the machines you want to be on, um, and then you can define what regions you want the software to be available. So I mean,
Right,
Amazon
right.
Amazon makes it it's very detailed because I mean they're global, right? So you have to they want to make sure that it gives you control, but at the end of the day, it's in your best interest to be on as many regions as you can. Um, and then you can specify what instance types that you want to support as well. So they give you very granular things that you can do. And then there's an actual the way you get this information in. So for a very long time, it was very manual. So I think a lot of people shied away from it. It's like you downloaded this basically this CSV file, I believe it is, like right here, download product load form, and you fill in the information into a spreadsheet, and then you upload. So it's multiple tabs. Here, let me just download this thing here. So it's multiple tabs um, that you need to fill out, and then you upload it back into it. And for us, since we've been doing this for a while, um, you can just update it and then you can re-upload it back, and then that allows you to do that. So I don't know where this. Oh, it probably went somewhere where I can't see it because I'm only sharing my screen. But let me see if I can see where it went. Oh,
So,
there it is. Keep going.
I was
Yep.
gonna say that the other question I had was around like how you would maintain it over time, right? So making those updates, if you make new changes, like how easy is it to update the software? Is it ways for people to be on different versions of
Hmm.
the software? Like, yeah, a little bit more about
Yeah.
that, but
Yeah. Let me talk to that for a little bit. So yeah. So when you release a new version of it, the marketplace, AWS marketplace, will send an email to any of the subscribers that are using it and say, "Hey, there's a new version out there." It's
mhm.
up to them to make a decision if they want to upgrade or not. So we don't force, AWS doesn't force you off a certain version. It just lets you know that it's there. Um, and then from a maintainability standpoint, I personally think it's a little cumbersome. Like I would rather it be more DevOps. Like whenever we do a new release, we can automatically make it, update. It is still a little bit of work in order to do that. Um, Mainly because well, and this is again, I preface this. This is my information is a little bit dated, but and I haven't went back and looked at it. But it wasn't everything wasn't they didn't have a strong API for the marketplace. So for updating that product load form, it was still pretty manual where I had
Mhm.
to fill out this form, this spreadsheet and then upload it back. So I'm hoping that now because we're about to do a new release of this, we're going to look into this. Hopefully it's more automation to it. So hopefully
Okay.
hopefully that's the case, but about it is about a day's worth of work just to get a new release out because you have to take into account that if the OS you're using, because when it's doing this, it's basically you're installing it on top of whatever OS you want to support. You're installing. Obviously, you're spinning up an instance of that OS in AWS. You're installing your software on it, and then you have to let them review it. So very much like you said, back to like submitting your app to an app store. They have to go through, review it, and we at least every time we do this, I know we get we get it kicked back to us at least 1 or 2 times before we get it right. For them to put it up on the store, but it's nothing like the apps. It's nothing like the App Store where it takes weeks for it to happen.
Okay.
It usually happens within a day or two. If you're brand new, it may take you 2 or 3 days just to fix things up, but after that, it happens pretty quickly.
That's helpful to know. Yeah, that's what I was wondering too, how quick the turnaround time is. Because yeah, if it's your first time deploying the app, it might take a while, just to get it out there, and you have to
Mhm.
rebuild and then go back and resubmit it and stuff like that, so that's helpful. Was there something else that you wanted to show?
I'll just say, like, they also have a bunch of insights, so a whole bunch of reports that they've made these. Now, these weren't available before, but you can see that they gave you a lot of trends on how your marketplace is happening, how people are consuming it, what OSs, for example, revenue is one thing, but also what OSs people are consuming, geographically where they're at, things of that nature. And then this is also pretty important too. Um, like this shows you. I don't know why this goes back. So this is like March, April, May. Okay, I guess it comes up there, but it doesn't. So the other thing you need to know is that um, they don't tell you the email address of the person that's using it. Now they tell
Right.
you what domain they're coming from. So it's kind of like the App Store, right? You don't necessarily know the end user, right? So that's kind of the bad thing is that you can't really build a relationship with them unless they come to you for support, right? All I
Mhm.
know is that this particular company, uh, you know, um, you know, became a subscriber on August 3rd, and what else does it tell me? Oh, I have their zip code, and I have like their country, and I don't even know. This is Mexico, I guess, MX. Um, yeah, so it doesn't really tell you much more than that. So just that's the other thing you need to kind of know is that you're gonna have to, if you're looking to build your customer base through this, this is probably not the right approach because you're not gonna know those customers straightforward. But for me, I don't care who they are, as long as they're paying the monthly fee. I don't care who they are, so I'm not really using this as a mechanism to get to build a closer relationship with this customer.
Yeah, so that's I mean, I feel like they're so I do like the whole content creation side of things and everything. That's like, okay, if you're on social media, right, you have followers, but you don't have like a direct access to the followers. Like if you decide you want to leave Twitter, like you don't, you can't take your followers with you or like your list with you versus having like a newsletter. So if that is something that's important to you, then you probably want to build other mechanisms. Like, they had like a homepage for your software, right? So I know you can put details in about your software, but can you give them other contact information? Like if you had a
Mhm.
Discord server or something, can you like kind of point people towards more of a community that you might have built up?
Yeah, yeah, for sure. Yeah, so you could let's see here. Yeah, you can point them to, like, I guess the way that you build let's go back to AWS Marketplace. I guess the way that from an app perspective, just comparing this to, is that the difference is, as an app, you don't know who downloaded, but you do know if they decide to log in, right? Or sign up,
Yeah,
then
yeah.
that's when you get to know. In this case, at least the stuff that we're writing, we're allowing them to run this. Basically, our software release allows them to build their own SIP infrastructure. So they wouldn't necessarily need to log in because there's no backend service we're running for them. So this is
Right.
like them to run everything self-hosted. But if they want support from us, then we'll know who they are because they'll come to our support portal. They'll say, "Hey, we need help." We'll be like, "Okay, where are you running it at?" They'll be like, "Oh,
Mhm.
AWS." So that's how we know if people are having it. But quite honestly, people who spin up decent router at AWS, we never hear from them. Like I think I've heard from maybe one or two. So I don't know. That just means that the customer that either we're doing a really good job, or they just don't know how to contact us. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, okay, so DSIP router is so this is not everybody maybe has this structure, but DSIP router is open source, right? So do y'all check issues and stuff on GitHub? Y'all get
Yep.
feedback that way, right? So maybe it's more folks know to kind of go to the actual open source tool to kind of communicate. But I would imagine maybe like even with like you said with that support page, you can direct them wherever you want to. Just because I'm thinking about like, okay, you might want to get feedback and hear about if
Mhm.
there's issues or feature requests, for example, because it's like if you don't have that one-on-one relationship with the whoever's using the software, then it's kind of hard to know what they could be, what could be beneficial for them moving forward.
Yeah, like I was going to our support page and it says long-term contract cancellation or downgrades are not supported. If you need help with or want to upgrade subscriptions, please click here. I don't even know where this takes you to. Let's go see what this takes. Yeah, it doesn't. So this, I mean, this is more about the AWS subscription you get.
Mhm.
Um, oh, okay. So we have our website,
Okay,
GitHub,
website
and
get yeah.
documentation up there. So yeah. But
Okay,
again,
okay.
we don't hear from them a lot. But watch now that I said that, we'll start hearing from them. But this is a great gem. This is a great way to just so every month we get a nice little pop of money in our bank account from AWS, and it helps fund the project and pay people salaries to keep supporting this. So this is one of the machines that I create to generate cash.
Well, this is like, I don't know, hopefully anybody else that's listening in finds this helpful, but I know for me, I'm like, okay, this just changed the game, because I don't know. I feel like you don't know what you don't know. So sometimes you just need to hear what the possibilities and opportunities are, and then it gets the wheel turning on how you can kind of leverage it. So I know I'm going to be looking into it further. Maybe we could do like a workshop on deploying a piece of software to the marketplace or something like that in the future. That could be helpful.
Yeah,
Folks would
yeah,
definitely have to let us know, give us feedback on the show, give us some comments and stuff to let us know if that would be something that y'all want to see from Hacking with the Homies.
absolutely, absolutely.
So the last question I have before we kind of do our shameless plugs, our little promo at the end is if you have any kind of like tips or tricks or maybe like gotchas that you ran into that you haven't mentioned already.
No, but I do have we do have a question in there. It says, "This is the marketplace out for GCP where you can distribute yourself." I think he's saying, "Is there a marketplace for GCP?" Yes, there is one for GCP that you can do, and they do actually pay out the developer as well.
Yeah,
Um,
so today we looked at the AWS marketplace. We looked at the GCP marketplace. We looked at the Azure marketplace, which all have monetization options for the developers if you are distributing your software that way. And then we also looked at DigitalOcean, but it looks like DigitalOcean didn't really have a monetization mechanism for the software distributor. So DigitalOcean, you could put your software up and people could install it, but um, Google Cloud Platform, AWS, and Azure will also give you the option to be able to have to charge your customers basically for using the software.
Absolutely. And he said, Paki was like, when I think of AWS, I think expensive. Yeah, it is somewhat expensive compared to some of the other cloud providers, but it seems to have the most market adoption. So it's and quite honestly, I think most likely, I don't know this, but I'm assuming people who use AWS have more um, budget to spend
Right.
on marketplace software because for them, it's not about how much it costs sometimes, it's how fast they can get it up and running. They just want a solution. And as we all know, open source software sometimes they're 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 solving a small piece of the solution, um, and not solving the overall problem. And I think the marketplaces, at least the ones that I've seen, the ones what I'm trying to what I'm trying to do is solve a really comprehensive problem that people can just click and start using like immediately. And I think there's value in that money and having it there for you can generate cash from it.
Yeah, so that's really the distinction that we're making today. So, we'll use DSIP router as an example, right? Because that is Max project. With DSIP router, you guys have an open source project. So if somebody wants to go in and just install it themselves and spin it up in their own environment, deploy it however they want to, they totally have that option. But then the layer on top of it is, like you said, for those people that have that budget and are using the cloud providers for their applications or their services, then they have the ability to go ahead and kind of spin up the that service alongside whatever else they have set up in the on the cloud. So it's just an additional option for folks rather than being like, hey, you have to go to AWS in order to use DSIP router.
Right, right. And quite honestly, you hit a good point. I didn't hit. It's usually for people who are running systems already in the cloud, and decent router basically does a lot of is a proxy, so it needs to talk to other services, and a lot of times people are like, I don't want to figure out how to get it to work in AWS because AWS has its own way of you need to do things in order for things to work, such as VPCs and peering and things of that nature. We kind of handle all of that for you, and then it just kind of works. So I think that's the other value proposition. Yeah, quite honestly, the complexity of AWS helps me because the more complex it is,
Yes, yes, yes.
it's easier for me to sell a solution that makes that process a little bit more simpler for people. Well, anyway, so this was a great talk. I really I love talking about this stuff. So I appreciate you, Jessica, allowing us to kind of chat through this. But yeah.
I always get to learn something. So it's like again, we're going from side project to side hustle. So it's just the option, it's just the avenue. We just want people to know what ways that you can kind of branch out. It's not all about oh, I gotta, make an open source project and then contribute all my time, effort, and energy, and then you don't have any kind of like investment coming back in, so you can continue to grow the project. This is an avenue that you might not have been aware of. I know I wasn't aware of it, so now I feel way more educated on how I can kind of leverage my skills.
And I'll just say this one other thing too is that even if you're not building your own open source project, there's value in going to like take a few pieces of open source software,
Hmm.
integrating it together and putting it on the marketplace. That's still fair. Okay. That
Right.
is still a fair thing to do. And you can just make money off of just doing that.
Another comment we got from YouTube. Is it Jace Geek? Okay. I'm going to keep it 100. I'm sticking to Azure due to the impatience of people at my current job. So we did talk about that. Google, I mean, AWS is not the only option. So that's just where y'all are doing DSIP router, right? But we show
Right.
Azure also has a marketplace, and Google Cloud Platform does have a marketplace. So it's up to you depending. You want to think about where your customer is going to be, right? If it's a lot of people trying to get it up and running on Azure, like certain things is just going to be on Azure. Let's just be honest, because Azure is Windows based for the most part. Everything that's Windows based tends to stray towards Azure anyway. So
Yep.
that's not my cup of tea per se. but
Right.
but if everybody I knew was trying to deploy like certain things, like if it's .NET based or something that integrates with .NET, I would absolutely go with Azure without a doubt, because most people are probably going to be straying towards Azure if they have like some type of .NET based software
Solution.
stack.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. No,
Oh,
that
this is
you hit it. You hit it.
but yeah, oh, okay, so lastly, We can do shameless plugs, but I was just wondering if there was any, like I said, any gotchas or things like that that you might have noticed as you were going through the process, things that might not be apparent. I know you talked a little bit about different things that might that we might want to look out for if we're doing this process for the first time.
No, I mean, it's been a while, so I have to think about the gotchas. I think it's a little confusing at first. Uh, but no, I think that's bit. I think the other thing is that you do have to market to people that, hey, your project's on AWS, right, or
Right.
projects on GCP. That's the other thing. I just kind of thought that people would kind of like figure it out and go, but I we really saw more conversion when we started showing people the architecture. Like, we had an ad that just kind of showed, like, I think it was like life is better with decent router and AWS. And we showed a little architecture of what it looks like. And that helped a lot. I just think sometimes, again, it's like your open source project is only going to be as popular as you make it in the
Hmm.
beginning. Same thing here. People won't know about it until and put it inside your README on GitHub.
Yeah.
That way, just
Yeah.
make it a thing to say, hey, if you want to get up and going real quick, go do this on AWS, and you'll start seeing increase in people doing that.
That's really helpful. So let's go to our shameless plugs.
Yeah.
I first of all, I just saw we have a cybersecurity event coming up. Um, for Detroit Black Tech we're sponsoring, right? Is that next week?
Yeah, I think that is next week. I have to look
August
at the
17th,
phone.
I think I saw.
Yeah. Yep.
So I'm gonna pull up the info just so we can share that. Um, but do you have any other shameless plugs for this month? What you working on, man?
Yeah. Yeah, so actually, it's both of us actually working on this one. So we will be, we're all into like training more MVP developers. So we'll be having we already have the YouTube channel up, but we're going to make it better, make it easier to use. So if you want to join the tech ecosystem in Detroit and being a developer that wants to help founders build out their company, definitely take the training that Jessica and I have created, and get certified and being an MVP developer. It's a totally different type of development paradigm. I haven't talked to Jessica about this, but you heard it here. We're going to create a book called MVP Developer that focuses on all the things you need to do and all our experiences that we've learned from creating MVPs. And then lastly, Black Tech Weekend is coming to Detroit. We will be figuring out what our participation is going to be coming here soon. I know we're going to have some type of event, private event, just inviting some core developers. Just that's making it happen in the ecosystem. So reach out to us
Mhm.
and let us know if you're one of those people. That's it.
I will drop the link to our Slack channel. So if you do want to join our Slack channel for Detroit Black Tech, you can definitely do that. Stay up to date on the things that we have going on, send messages, converse, get to know the community, all that good stuff. But I'm excited about us starting to do more stuff in person again. So looking forward to the Black Tech weekend because I didn't get to go to the one that was it in Ohio?
Yep, Cincinnati. Yep.
Okay. Let's see, what am I working on? I'm almost done with my 100 days of code or 100 days of
Yeah.
ML. It's like been
Yes.
very challenging, but it's
Hmm.
exciting because I feel like obviously this is not an end game for me. This is just the beginning. But I have been working on getting my like blog reset up and getting up like all of the resources so people can know like when I'm going to be teaching for different programs. You can see different classes I have available coming up, but I'm going to start launching some of my own like independent classes. So that is probably should have been done sooner rather than later, but at this point I'm like, how come I don't run my own classes? um so I've been getting like a lot of requests to do Python outside of some of the other organizations I teach for. So I'm getting ready to do like a Python crash course upcoming. So yeah, I that's my shameless plug. I'm gonna put the link to my website so folks can go and kind of see what I have going on there. But that's pretty much what I've been working on. It's so exciting because it's so much going on. So I'm like, I need to start submitting some talks about like, hey, machine learning, how you can deploy like a machine learning application and kind of branch out. So that's what I got going on in this neck of the woods.
It's a lot. I love it, man, and I love what you're doing. Just sharing it with everybody. Where can people see you next?
Oh, okay. So if you already follow me on LinkedIn, I go live on LinkedIn every time. I go live on Twitch and I have my YouTube channel. That's the main one I care about. So if you do want to follow me, just follow me on YouTube. Just youtube.com/ at MetaDevGirl. You can pretty much see even even the podcasts and things that I do that are on other sites. I always link them. I have playlists and things on my channel that points to Detroit Black Tech. It points to Train X and other, other shows. So that's kind of the hub I've been building. So you can see anything that I create there.
Cool. Oh, it's good to know. I always like want people to know where they can find you. So
Heck yeah.
that's it.
So
I think that's it.
we did good. I like this episode. So let us know what other types of topics you would like us to cover. Again, we are really, really passionate about just making sure that Black and Brown developers understand all the different avenues you can leverage in order to kind of grow your career in software, whether it be on side hustles, whether it be growing technically, whether it be starting a company. So let us know what kind of topics you want to see, and we'll see y'all in the next episode.
Yeah. Take care, everybody.
We'll play the outro music.
Let's do it.